Hello, this is Dead Hamster, and today we're going to do part 4 of our video tutorial. This is going to be naming all of our surface objects, as well as setting up the course paths and item lists. In an earlier part, an automated process named all of our surface objects after the materials. We're actually going to need to rename them based on the surface ID. So here on Micro500's GitHub page is a wiki. There's a surface map page that was written by Rena Kunisaki, and down here near the bottom there is a table with the major surface types that are available in the game. So we need to use this hexadecimal value. We actually need to get the decimal equivalent and then use that as the material and create a part number for that. So for example, for all the track items, the ID would be 1. We would select every piece that is going to have ID of 1. We would put a 1 in this box and hit the auto part, which will rename everything to have the material ID, the surface ID of 1, followed by an underscore, and then some type of unique text. In this case, I use part and then a number. It can be anything unique if you're writing your own tool for Blender, for example, to replicate the Kart 64 Max tool. So once you've done that for all the surface objects, including, for example, any areas that you want to be out of bounds, will be 253. Grass is an ID of 8. Cliffs, 12. Solid walls are 255. Once you've set all of these values, you have properly renamed all the surface objects, and they also, again, need to be unique across each section. So here I have 255 part 7, because in section 1 there were 255 part 0 through 6. So you need to select the entire surface object. It's usually good to hide everything, like so, and then to go through and to only select the surface objects as visible. That's the easiest way I feel to navigate and properly assign all the surface materials. Additionally, it's nice to have these up when you go to do the course paths, which is what we're going to be doing now. I actually won't need section 6 because there won't be any course paths in section 6, as the entire section is out of bounds. However, the rest of them we will leave open, and we're going to hit the, after we minimize everything so you can see what it does, we're going to hit this button called Create Pop Objects. Wait for a moment, and when it says finished, you'll see that it has created a pretty generic course path as well as object lists for several objects: trees, piranha plants, and item blocks. We're going to move all of these item lists underneath the course where they cannot be viewed. The way that overcart and the hot swapping method works for custom courses is that there are 64 trees, 64 piranha plants, and 64 item blocks in every custom course. That way there's a standard number to load. Otherwise we would have to edit the course loading code dynamically for each course, in addition to the other dynamic edits we're making, and it would further complicate things. If a user doesn't need to use all 64, which is very likely as that's a high number, they simply place them out of bounds. It shouldn't take a huge amount of additional resource processing to draw these objects. So again, you just place them out of the level area and the player won't see them. We're going to go back to the course path now. It gives you a generic path with 800 points. It is absolutely required that your course path have 800 points, same as that you only have 64 of the previously mentioned objects. However, with this path, you do not need to use the one that it gives you. I usually find it's better just to create a custom path. So going to the ellipse tool in my splines, I'm going to just draw standard ellipse and then convert it to an editable spline. I'm going to take these verts and drag them down, and drag them down. No, don't want any of that. Okay. So from here, again, we need to have 800 points. The easiest way is to highlight all of the segments and divide by 99, and then divide by 1. That will take the 4 verts that we started with and turn them into 800. From here, the most important thing is to find vert number 1, also to change it from gray. It's a terrible color. There we go. Vertex number of the selected. There we go. So the whole game starts at the first marker for the course paths. Now, something to clarify with this spline, it doesn't use the spline in any way. The only thing it uses is the positions of the 800 verts. It translates those positions into markers on a path. It does not use the controls. The splines are not used in any way. The only thing that matters is the position of the verts in this spline. I use a spline because it's an easy visual representation for a developer to look and see the path of their course, but again, it is not in any way used in actual Mario Kart. What we're going to do here is mirror along the x-axis, convert it back to a spline, and then we're going to move it ever so slightly downwards so that this marker lines up right at the starting line. That's where it's going to place the big banner that says Mario Kart or whatever it says, and that's where the racers are going to line up to start the course. From here, we have to do a little bit of editing, but not too much. It's actually pretty simple what we need to do for this. We're going to select these, and scale them out, and scale them out. We're going to select these, and scale them out. Center them. There we go. No. Good enough. And select all the betweens and flatten them. Why? Okay, going back, we're going to flatten them. And move them into place. Right up here, we'll do a small rotation just to get these aligned. And then we'll also tweak this. Again, the only thing that matters is the positions. The spline itself is irrelevant. Same thing on this end. Line that up. Fix this. There we go. And that's it. There's the course paths. Again, you can see they start at 1 and move forward and then continue up to 800, at which point they loop back. There is one more thing we need to do with the course paths. and we need to go to these segments, and we're looking at the materials. So we need to assign materials that match the section that the course paths are in. So for section 1, we keep the material ID at 1. It's already 1, we don't need to do that. At section 2, however, that's when we need to start working. So we're going to go to our spline. We just saw where section 2 is. It's from here to here. You can't see where I'm pointing, but it's from here to here. So we're going to go to the ellipse tool, or the ellipse rather, here, and we're just going to select the segments themselves and assign a material ID of 2. From here, we want to go from here, and section 3 is pretty much this entire area. Goes all the way, I believe, up into the bottom here. So we're going to go and select all of that and attach a material ID of 3. Zoom in real close here to get the next part. So it's just this part here is going to be a 4, and then we're going to wrap it up with a 5 for the last section of the course. If your course has 17 sections, you'll need to go from 1 to 17, progressing through and naming each one. Make sure to double check that you don't go into the beginning. And so this last part we'll do is 5. Save, and now we're going to put our items into the course. Now for this course, we're not going to have any trees, we're not going to have any piranha plants. We are going to put item blocks in, however. So we'll need the positions of those. And this is done very similar to how the course paths are. You're going to find a bunch of markers listed under the parent node, objects, item blocks. Additionally, to take a step back, we're going to take our course paths and place them underneath the parent node course paths, so it becomes a child. That's how the exporter is going to be able to recognize and pull that object. Jumping back to the item blocks, we're going to select the first 6, numbered 1 through 6, and drag them up to where we want them on the course. Say right here, we're going to rotate them by 90 degrees. 150. That's not what I wanted. That's not it either. Okay. I have to do it by hand. Do that, and then I believe it was -57 should be the height. Beautiful. Now 7 through 12. Yes. Right here, rotate by 90, scale it out. And you can manipulate, scale, move these however you want. The only thing that matters is the position of the objects. Again, it's just going to take the X, Y, Z coordinates and put those into the positions for the item boxes. So selecting 6 more. Put this out of the way. Right, rotate by 90. Allow. And move to -57. Grab the last 6 here for the last corner. Now this corner isn't going to be helpful on lap 3. You're going to be too late to get any items. But that's a great way to kind of, mock your enemies as you're coming in first. Just let them know that, oh, that star that you just got is pretty much useless. Also, I'm too lazy to come up with a better way to position the items. So this is what we're going to have. And it works for the other laps. So we have our item blocks. We're not going to have any trees. We're not going to have any piranha plants. The rest of the item blocks stay underneath the level where nobody can see them. Everybody wins. So we're going to save again and export the pop objects. Now if we go ahead and look at this file, so we have the position. It's listed as a float, but Mario Kart is going to switch that around into an integer. And actually, I'm glad that I looked at this because I did not move my course paths to the right spot. It's not good. So take all of these and we're going to drop them just on top of the level geometry, same as the item blocks. We want to kind of just poke out, I believe negative 56 is, negative 57 work? Yeah, even better. Negative 58 is under, right? That's like on it. So we're going to do negative 57, 1 unit above the floor. Save. And we're going to export that again. Good thing to double check. Save it. And there we go. We have our positions and then the material ID. And as we progress, it freezes. Doesn't seem to be. Oh, there we are. Number 2. So we get to section 2's points, section 3, section 4, and finally section 5. And then all the item blocks, the trees, and everything else. So this is going to get written to the game later on when we're compiling everything. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to read the position of the splines and their marker points using the FBX plugin I had. It just didn't have the tools to access those objects. So there was no real easy way to read it from the FBX file, and that's why I need to use an alternate format to load that data in. And since I was already using it for the course paths, it only made sense to do it for the item blocks and everything else as well. So with those objects exported out and our surfaces renamed, we are all set to export this and to compile it into a Mario Kart ROM. So we're going to close up part 4 here, and part 5 is going to be exporting the data, the last bit of data, the FBX file, and getting it into the actual ROM. So stay tuned.